What up, people? I am back for another video. Today, we're continuing on with the Bond franchise. We're doing Die Another Day. But before I get into that, I watched Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. I'll just say Paramount gave me, let's say, a special, um, let's say, cut of the movie. And man, it is fucking bad. And I'm going to talk about it tomorrow. So Bird on a Wire I'll do on Thursday instead of tomorrow because I need to vent about this movie because holy shit. It for one, Master Splinter got Jake Skywalkered. Not once did he feel wise. I love Jackie Chan, but there was too many moments where I was just hearing him talk and I'm like, okay, I just want to watch a Jackie Chan movie, like an actual good one. The Ninja Turtles chemistry, they didn't have chemistry. The voices were terrible. The animation is terrible. This has to be the worst movie of the year for me. I know it was in Indy 5 might have been a worse character destruction, but if I'm just going strictly as a movie, because at least I can find somewhat, even though it's one, a positive. There's none in this, the least that I can think of. I guess maybe the action was okay at times, but even then, the humor was bad. The animation was bad. The when I mean the humor was bad, it was very Marvel humor. The constant just references, pop culture references, and I'll talk about that tomorrow. It was aggravating. I had to pause this movie a lot. Like there are moments I'm like, okay, I had to pause. April was bad. She's not even the worst part of the movie. Granted, I don't like her design. She looks like a fucking black beach ball. Why did they have to make her all fucking... I have a problem with them race swapping her, but whatever. I can kind of overlook that if you at least made her look attractive. Why'd you have to make her like all frumpy and looking and shit? There are points I'm just watching, I'm like, she just feels like another character. But take that out. She's not even the worst part of the movie. I would probably say Splinter is. He was destroyed. So anyway, I don't want to go on too long about this. I'll talk about it tomorrow. But man, if you love Ninja Turtles, do not. I would almost say don't watch it unless you have to do it for a review or something. But don't pay for it. It's fucking shit. It's like everything wrong. Fuck you, Seth Rogen. The fact that you try to act like you were a fan of Ninja Turtles and then the shit you did in this movie. Anyway, on to something good. I watched, today we're doing Die Another Day. I remember seeing this one in theaters. I was like 6 years old at the time, and I fucking love this movie, and I still do. Yeah, are there some corny parts? Some of the CGI looks horrible, but to be honest, it doesn't. The CGI is now still better than, like, The Flash. But yeah, I'll say, yeah, the CGI isn't great, but I think Jinx is one of my favorite Bond girls. I think Halle Berry really played her well. I thought her and Pierce Brosnan had a great chemistry. I actually think Pierce Brosnan, in terms of performance, this might have been my favorite performance of his. Like, I really thought he brought his all into it because he probably knew this was going to be his last one. So he brought it. Like, I really felt like this was a nice way to go out. That's why I do prefer this over World Is Not Enough. I think the villain is enough. Yeah, Graves, I'll admit, he's not the most original villain. You even had like one of his plans. There's even like a betrayal. Like, yeah, there's a lot of tropes in this movie where, yeah, the villain isn't uber original. He basically made a satellite laser. That's all he did, called Icarus. So yeah, the villain isn't fully original or anything, but that's fine. It doesn't have to be. I thought Graves, compared to the villain from the last one, was much more memorable. I thought Zhao was a good secondary kind of villain. I know a lot of people go in about the whole invisible car, but I think it's only for a couple of scenes, and you're really gonna be mad because Bond's car can camouflage me. You think? I mean, of course, he gets fancy weaponry all the time. Of course, it makes sense he's gonna have a fucking car that can camouflage. I love John Cleese, and in this movie, I like the new Monty Penny. I liked some of the Some of the tech. I thought this movie had genuinely funny moments. There's a scene where Monty Penny imagined herself because there's like a these glasses basically are VR. That's essentially what the glasses are. That yeah, they're basically VR, and she imagined herself in a scenario where she was, Bond was hooking up with her. Like I thought that was fucking hilarious. Like there's genuinely funny moments. I love M in this movie. I love the action. I love the opening in North Korea where Bond gets captured. Like it has a pretty intense beginning. I think Zhao was a good, like I said, secondary villain. I like that element of the movie. The movie is pretty hardcore in terms of violence. I mean, there's a scene where Bond's fighting this dude, and well, Jinx is like handcuffed, right? And she has to try to help him. And they're in this thing that has like a bunch of lasers. So she manages to get the thing, and then she turns on the laser on the dude attacking Bond, and the laser like goes through him out of his mouth, like or Zhao's death, where he gets killed by a glacier, falling glacier, pretty brutally, and you see like the blood in the water. Like they don't hold back on some of the kills in this, but yeah, I mean, so basically Bond has to go prove himself. So the plot essentially is Bond gets suspended from MI6 because of what happened in North Korea, and he after getting found frees himself and tries to track down Zhao. This is where he meets Jinx and Graves, who's like basically the real main villain, who made this thing called Icarus. It's like a satellite that basically it's a laser essentially, and yeah, I really love this movie. Even Frost, who's an agent who you think, you obviously have these in a couple of these Bond movies where maybe there's a second Bond girl you think it's gonna be good, and obviously eventually turns out to be a villain, and that's what she was. But yeah, I like this movie. It's fun. Yeah, so the car was a bit much, but to be honest, it's only in a few scenes. I think personally, I love how it was still able to blend. Like you have a lot of old school Bond tropes, but they also modernized it a bit. Pierce Brosnan's performance, like I really thought he brought it because he knew this was gonna be his last one. So I thought it felt like he really put it all. And like I said, him and Jinx had, in terms of the Bond girls of like the Pierce Brosnan era, she probably is the best one. Like if I'm being honest, don't be wrong, I like the girl from Goldeneye, and Michelle Yeoh Wei-Lin is close. But if we're being real and in terms of chemistry alone, it's Halle Berry in this movie. No disrespect to a close second is Wayland, and don't get me wrong, I'm fine with Christmas Jones, from World Is Not Enough, but it's Jinx. I think the dynamic she had with him and was perfect. I mean, obviously, because she was doing the X-Men movies at the time, so it made sense. So I love this one. Out of 10, I'd probably give this one an 8. I think the hate it gets, I don't really understand. Yeah, there's a little hokey shit in there. Some of the CGI is over the top, but it's a fun one. So, like I said, tomorrow I am gonna fucking roast and destroy that new Ninja Turtles movie. Oh my god! And I want to like, obviously, I'm gonna give spoilers and all, but I want to like talk about it in a way where I'm like, I want people to not watch it. I was, if I had to say the most angry I've been at a movie, it might have been this one. Indy 5 was close. This was just bad. This was, even as someone who's like a casual Ninja Turtles fan, very casual, what the fuck, bro? Like, why did you do that? Like, you couldn't just make a fun Ninja Turtles movie. You had to do that. And I'll talk about that more tomorrow. But anyway, let's get into Die Another Day. Oh, I guess if I had one criticism, I do not like the Bond song. I love, I'm not gonna say I love, but I like her music, Madonna, or some of her music. She doesn't work for Bond. The song they went with just doesn't work. I remember that was like the one thing rewatching that intro at the song. I'm like, this doesn't work. It feels like it should be in like another movie. It feels very like, yeah, this is music that should be in like a Legally Blonde movie, not in a Bond movie. I don't know if maybe Madonna should have went for more of like an old school retro feel. Maybe go for more like not a jazz singer, but like something like that. I don't know. I felt like the song she used, it's like it's so out of place. And I get it. Not all Bond songs are supposed to be the same genre. I mean, even Chris Cornell, he's like rock. Did a Bond song for Casino Royale, which I'm doing next week. Which I remember really liking Casino Royale. That's like the only one of the Craig ones I've actually seen. I didn't see any of the Craig sequels, so but yeah, this one. But yeah, the song, yeah, it just doesn't work for me. Or maybe Madonna saying it differently in a different tone. It could have worked because the song itself, like I said, it's not bad. It feels like it should be in like another movie, like a romantic comedy, or even like a comedy that's just like about like teenage girls or something. It doesn't fit James Bond. That's my only negative, I guess. Real negative, if I'm being honest. Anyway, let's get started. So the movie opens up. Bond tries to infiltrate like a North Korean base to try to get some stolen diamonds back. But yeah, he ends up getting captured. It was a fun little action opening though on the train, the fighting style. That's the thing I really like about. So Bond, yeah, unfortunately ends up getting captured, and then yeah, we get our obviously the normal intro. Then Bond is still cast. Actually, what I like about this movie, that opening is yeah, it's kind of not dark, but like it's not like like the normal openings where Bond like gets himself in a tricky situation and then he kind of gets himself out of it, and then it cuts to the this one wasn't that. Like by the time he got back, he was still captured, and they were torturing him. General Moon orders a switch, and this is where he gets framed for basically kind of framed for murder, and he gets sent to uh back to he makes a swap. Then he goes back to M, and this is where he gets suspended because they felt like he was giving info away and all this to the Koreans. This is like when North Korea was like kind of like at least in terms of representation, kind of treated as like the big bad at the time. So, um, Bond frees himself. We get kind of a fun scene there. It was cool. It's always cool seeing characters like Monty Penny and um, Q, who I thought John Cleese was a great Q. Don't get me wrong, I like the other Q, but it's understandable you have to change him every now and then. And I thought John Cleese was great. I thought he was fucking awesome in this movie. This is where we get the VR, basically their VR sunglasses, essentially. Um, so he goes to Cuba. This is where he meets um, Jinx, who's an NSA agent who's also on the trail of Graves. And we get that scene with Graves or we get the scene first at the club, that moment where you meet the villain or one of the villains. Bond confronts Zhao, who now like Zhao has like a new look, and I'm not gonna lie, that's the one thing I remember watching this movie. I remember Zhao's face, like the shaved, and he has like all these things on his face. I thought that was I thought Zhao was a good villain, to be honest, like a good secondary villain who has like a personal thing against Bond. So, and then this is where we meet Graves, and you actually get a Madonna cameo where she was like a fencer working for Graves, and yeah, we get a fight between uh, Graves and Bond. It was actually a pretty good little fight. Um, but then we get a cool fight scene. Bond has to save Jinx, who ends up captured, and has this thing has like a machine that she's tied to. It's like a bunch of lasers. Bond nearly gets killed, and Jinx ends up helping him. This is where we get that scene I was talking to you about, where the laser goes through the dude's face. Like, that was brutal. Like that. Like I said, there are some brutal kills in this one. So Bond and Jinx have to. This is where they start working together. Um, and also working with Frost, who starts off undercover and obviously tries to play like she's not into Bond, but she actually is. And obviously, you get that scene where she kind of even helps him get away, and kisses him and all that. Then, uh, we get the bomb reveal where actually Frost is actually working for Graves, who's also working with Zhao, and this is where we meet Icarus. He plays like it's something for good, like it's supposed to help with like agriculture, but in reality, he wants to use it so he can cause a war between two countries. Yeah, like you could say that trope's been done a million times, but I look at it like this: it's Bond. It's always supposed to be out there. It's like comic books in an ideal world, like kind of like comic books. There are a lot of villains in comic books in both companies where the villains are a lot of them have the same kind of plot. It's like, who cares? If it's still entertaining, I can get over things like that. I think that's such a weird thing. Because on Wikipedia, it said one of the criticisms was that they felt like the villain was unoriginal and a lot of his plans were unoriginal. Like, if you're gonna be real, that's kind of all the. And I would even say you can't even say it's just this movie. Even like the Bond films, like in the old era, you could argue were like that, where a lot of the villains had somewhat similar plans. But we don't attack those movies. I just think that's kind of a weird thing to criticize it for. Because I actually thought Graves was a good villain. Yeah, was his plan a bit unoriginal? Oh, he has like a big weapon thing, and oh yeah, we get a cool hovercraft chase scene, which I love. One thing I love about this film, like, even though it's 2002, it maintains that little bit of classic Bond. Like, you obviously get granted, it wasn't a ski scene, but it was somewhat similar, like the hovercraft scene. And I mean, even with the satellite laser thing, the plans uber out there, like and you even have like a crazy looking um uh base for the villain where it's like this ice structure, so it's like over the top base. Like, you have those classic Bondisms, but you also have like it's early 2000s, so you're gonna have like a better tech. Like, a lot of the fights are gonna be a bit more technical, or even like the scene with the cars. There's a car chase where this is 2002, so it was like post Fast and Furious, like the first one coming out. So of course you're gonna have a modernized car scene for the time, but it still works, man. I fucking love it. That's why, like, I don't get the hate for it. Like, I wouldn't say this is like obviously one of the upper echelon of Bond films, and it's definitely not. Still, I wouldn't put it up there with one of the best Brosnan era, but I still love it. I love, like I said, I think Jinx is a solid character, and apparently, like, one of the things is she was gonna get a spinoff. I would have liked that. Maybe not a movie, but even like a series would have been kind of cool. I thought she was a solid character, and Halle Berry at the time I thought played her very well, and so I'd have been okay with that, because I think Bond is one of those things you could do a spinoff of. Anyway, so Bond ends up getting turned on and using, like, it's like a ring basically that actually turns out to be like a bomb. Freezes his way out, because we get the reveal that Frost is actually working with Graves, and unfortunately Jinx ends up getting captured, and Bond ends up going back for her, saving her, and um, while the structure ends up getting blown up and stuff, Graves ends up, getting out. Zhao tries to confront Bond. We get a cool car chase between the two. Bond, I love the little trick he does where, because the car can camouflage, he ends up posing, because Zhao has like, his car has like these blades in front of him. He's gonna ram Bond's car, and Bond camouflaged, and when it did that, it caused Zhao to crash, and Bond also put like blade, like, kind of spikes on his tire so he can like stick to the ice. And yeah, Zhao pretty much ends up getting killed pretty brutal. Like, a fucking falling ice chandelier falls on him, and in the water you could clearly see like blood rise up. It's like, holy shit. Um, Bond ends up saving Jinx. They have to stop Graves' plan of he basically wants to start the lasers so he can kind of start a war. So they end up confronting Jinx and Bond end up breaking on the plane. We get our final. I actually kind of like that the final fight is on. I kind of like when the fight is on a plane. Sorry, guys, give me a sec. Um, I actually like that the fight was on a plane and Graves. I'll admit, Graves has like this had this like little armored look, which by this point it looked a little cheesy, but it's fine. I get it. You got to have him fight Bond, so like it's fine. And Frost ends up fighting Jinx. Actually, not a bad fight. Both of these fights are pretty good. Like especially the Bond Graves one. Like Bond, they were beating the shit out of each other. But yeah, Bond ends up turning the tables on Graves. Ends up pulling the parachute on him. And there's like a button that electrocutes Graves, and Graves gets sent to the plane turbine while Frost ends up getting killed. But unfortunately, because someone shot like I think they were trying to shoot at it's either one of Graves' people trying to shoot at Bond or something like that. They end up shooting at the plane, which causes the plane to start descending. Graves, Bond, and Jinx manage to make their way out. And then they end up kind of making love. We get that funny scene in the end with Monty Penny using the glasses, imagining herself with Bond. I thought that was a funny little scene. Like I thought this movie in general had some nice, fun little moments. Q had some fun moments. Yeah, and I love the tech, and I don't understand. Like I said, I don't really get the hate for this movie. Like, I mean, I think it's better than World Is Not Enough. I don't hate World Is Not Enough, but to be honest, this is a way better movie. I thought the action was better. Bond girl's a bit better. Definitely the villain's better. I thought that's like the biggest weakness about World Is Not Enough. Definitely, this is a way better movie. But yeah, I love it. I don't mind the camo car. Like it's camo. It's not like it's invisible the whole time. They were trying to make it seem like it was like an invisible car, like it's like Wonder Woman's invisible jet. It was a camo, and I mean it kind of makes sense. Of course, Bond's gonna have tech that makes a car camo. I mean, yeah, like there were some CGI moments that don't look great, but who cares? I've always said I can overlook bad CGI if the movie is decent or good. And I like this one. So Pierce Brosnan really brought it. Like he brought it. Like you could tell, like he knew this was his last one. So he's like, you know what? I'm gonna play it well so like it go out like a bang with a bang, and I thought he did. Which sucks is, like I said, he's my second favorite Bond after Connery. To me, he is James Bond. But he was in the way he kind of felt like a nice blend of a lot of like he took a lot of the traits from, but mainly like Connery and a little bit of more mix. Like Moore did a lot more of the action, and I thought he had that. But Brosnan also was a bit modernized because it was in the mid '90s when GoldenEye came out, so it's like you're gonna have that carryover from like '80s action movies, but you still have that, but you also have that mix of classic Bond and Pierce Brosnan. I thought brought it, man. He is my to me after Connery. Yeah, he's my Bond, and this was a fun one. I thought this was a solid entry. I would have loved like maybe one more movie. Yeah, but I mean I'm fine with this being it, But I'm also like I wouldn't have minded if he did like legit like another film after this one. So, but yeah, guys. Love this one. I'll probably give it an 8 out of 10. I definitely recommend it. It's fun. It's awesome. You get some cool scenes. It's a solid end to Brosnan's run as Bond. Next week, Casino Royale. I remember really liking that one. I saw that one in theaters around the time it came out. And Mads Mikkelsen was a great villain. Eva Green was an awesome Bond girl. And I thought Craig in that one was decent. Never saw the sequels, like I said, so I'm going to go in blind when we get to those, but I remember really loving Casino Royale. So we'll see if it holds up. But, yeah. Tomorrow, We're gonna destroy the new Ninja Turtles movie, and I'm hoping Meg 2 will kind of wipe my mind from that later this week. But yeah, so we're gonna watch that, review that tomorrow. Holy shit, Ninja Turtles, man. Anyway, I'm gonna get into it tomorrow. I don't really want to get into it right now. It's absolute trash. Fuck you, Seth Rogen. You clearly were not a fan. I feel like he pulled a Kevin Smith, who we know with He-Man, who acted like he was this big fan of Ninja Turtles. He clearly fucking wasn't. Or I don't know. I think it's the first one. I don't think he cares. I was thinking maybe he was, but he's just a sellout. But I think it's the first one. I think he just saw it as another project he can make his, and his Rocksteady was absolutely shit because he wasn't even Rocksteady. He was just Seth Rogen. The only thing is you just needed is to have Rocksteady be a stoner. That literally would have completed it because he basically was just Seth Rogen. So anyway, I'll talk about that tomorrow. Thursday, Bird on the Wire. Friday, um, Extraction 2, and then probably sometime over the weekend, the Meg 2 review. So anyway, let's get I'll cheers and I'll talk to y'all later.